Hey there, you're tuning in to LowKey by Oki, our easygoing sessions for hotel professionals where we chat about industry trends, issues, and solutions.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening for whenever you're listening to this podcast. Welcome to the LowKey by Oki podcast. This is Saahil here from Oki, VP of Customer Success. Uh, very excited to talk about a specific topic of the creative deals in or creative edge for APAC hotels. And joining us today, we have our amazing customer success manager from the Asia Pacific market, Marjorie. Marjorie, a short run of introduction, please.
So, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are listening to this. I'm Marjorie. You can call me also MJ. Most hoteliers that work with us, that's what they nickname me. I'm the customer success manager for APAC. I deal with the day-to-day basis. I'm their main key contact for any hoteliers using Oki when they have questions about their either performance, how to optimize it, how to best utilize the tools, and training items, and what's new. I'm their go to person. So, very nice to be able to join today's podcast.
Thank you for that introduction, Marj. Um, for the listeners, I'd like to preface this conversation by talking about this article that we recently came across on eHotelier, talking about the changing face of luxury travel in the Asia Pacific market. And to summarize the whole piece, the summary in a way is that there is a growth in high net worth individuals traveling to these markets, them really looking forward for experiential creative deals, and they very nicely summarized the travel personas into venture travelers, again looking for adventure, the experienced connoisseur who are looking for more specific adventures to that the market, the culture, so on and so forth, and of course what they call the timeless adventurer, so the age-old traveler, 65 and above, who've been there, done that, and are looking for that bespoke experience compared to anything else that they have done previously. So all of this obviously begs me to think about how can hotels in the Asia Pacific market stand out compared to competition? How can they attract these sort of guests? How can they cater to their needs? And more specifically, if you think about Oki, how can they upsell the best creative deals to get them to spend more? And we did a bit of looking into our own data year to date, so starting from Jan up until now. We sent about 1 million emails, which have a very high conversion rate. The most expensive deal sold in our Asia Pacific market was a $10,000 room night upgrade, which is fantastic. But we also see a lot of creative deals, especially around F&B that our customers offer. So, Marge, what I would love to know from you, again, as being one of the experts of upselling in Asia Pacific, what do you see in terms of creative aspects or angles that a lot of our customers or hotels in general are trying to share or send to their guests?
Yeah, so like what you shared earlier, it goes line in line, hand in hand from the article that we see. There are more affluent travelers growing, and there is that market for luxury travel in APAC. And from our data set is also showing that people are actually booking suites, taking that higher room category, to even taking like $10,000 per night in terms of upgrades. So what is important, like I would say in APAC right now, is putting in that creativity in upselling. And what does creativity mean? So it's not just simply providing the fundamental offerings like the room upgrades or the breakfast, early check-in and late check-out deals, but at the same time, the hotels actually needs to go a bit more beyond, peel that onion more a little bit to meet what travelers or even guests needs at their passion points. So when it comes to like passion points, they need to understand what are the unique needs. And I think you shared three personas there, the ever changing travelers needs, So looking into that and catering based on your hotel's unique either location or unique selling proposition. So the APAC market is a very competitive market, and by using creativity, then the hotels can stand out because they can tailor the offerings to be more exclusive. And I think what's important nowadays also like localized experiences, so it reflects what is available to the place that actually guests are traveling to. There's a reason why they've chose that location at the first place.
Lovely. Marsh, before we continue, what I'd love to do is to peel one layer of the onion and unpack, in your expert opinion, what's the definition of creativity?
Yeah, so I think creativity also involves. I touched on this. I think earlier is what I still stand is creativity is you need to meet the guests at their personal needs and their passion points. So each different guest may be passionate in different things. I may have a different passion for different things, and if you can segment out your guests and cater to this, for example, like for a family, what they are needing, what's the purpose of their travel, and for, let's say, the age generations, if let's say they are traveling beyond 65, maybe they need a more slower pace. So having that personalized and localized experience instead of offering like a package that they have to, you know, hit every single checklist within a day,
Mm,
but to
mm,
be able to slow down, savor every moment,
mm.
and they can choose this offering, then I think that is like one point in terms of creativity, that you're already going beyond just the normal and basic offerings that is
Yeah.
available out there, being
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
So from what I'm hearing, what you're saying is hotels really need to know in depth the various guest personas. They really
Mm.
have to be in tune with their needs, and in a lot of cases, maybe even preempt those needs, right? To think about what they might need before the guest realizes, hey, we actually need this. And that definitely requires hotel teams to spend a lot more time speaking to the guests, understanding their needs, and then indeed, if you don't have those guest personas, to start creating the guest personas, and if you do, to constantly refine them, but also share that within the whole hotel organization. One question what I'd love to know is, a lot of these bespoke deals, like you mentioned, could also mean that there are a lot of variations that needs to be done per type of guest, so on and so forth. How can a hotel team, a team of revenue managers, operations folk, front office teams, actually go and convince their GM that, hey, we can't just offer these 10 standard deals. We actually need to come up with potentially two or three variations of those 10 deals. So essentially, you have a menu to choose of 30 to 40 different deals. How can you go and convince your GMs?
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's a really great question, because as a revenue manager internally, you also have your stakeholders that you need to convince. So I think the first and most important thing to understand is also what is the objective or KPI for the general manager or even like your superiors. I think this is applicable if you are thinking of implementing something new and something creative. So once you have a clear understanding of those goals, you can work backwards to show how what your initiative can also cover or meet those objective key results to achieve them. So I think one example is that when I speak to hotels is that generally most of the time revenue is a key important
Mm,
aspect. Nowadays what we also see, reviews are very important.
mm,
Reviews are one of the top key priorities for general managers, and this is where if you have something creative and you know that this is working out in the market, tailoring specific items to specific guest personas that you're trying to target to. So having this best practices can actually support you and eventually also support to reach what the organization or even the GM is trying to achieve. So was that clear?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely hear what you're saying. I think people also buy based on social proof, right? If you see and you read a review, wow, this hotel gave me fantastic service. They really cater to all my needs, my family's needs. That's basically what people want to experience also for themselves. So, again, just to quickly summarize, what you mentioned is how could you convince your GM? Step one, have a very clear goal in terms of what you want to achieve, map out all the initiatives of how they can meet these goals.
Yep.
And these goals can be indeed driving more revenue and driving more reviews, and then try and figure out what the different best practices are around those specific deals and services, and use that information to work along with your GM give you the power to start experimenting and then offering these sort of creative deals that are bespoke, tailored, might need a little bit of extra effort to customize, but eventually, because they are personalized, and we know by data and history that people wouldn't mind paying a bit extra for personalized services or bespoke services, then they would actually pay a lot higher. And if they really enjoy it, they would tend to also leave a very good review, right? So you have win-win situation from both aspects of it.
Yeah,
Did I
exactly.
capture all of that right?
Yeah, I think you captured all of this, all of the essence of it, and at the same time, you also added more layers to it. And I think what I can add on top is that while you know your GM's KPI, it's also helpful to have those best practices and also creating a toolkit eventually and having a playbook. So that helps that you have everything in place, and when it comes to the time where you're finally testing out and implementing these bespoke deals,
Yeah.
it's easier for you to have that implementation and in future re-replicate that again for any new changes you see in the market or tailoring to different guests again.
No, absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much. So again, understand your GM's KPIs. That's maybe like step number 6. We'll try and figure out that order, and we'll share that later with the listeners. But going back one layer deeper, um, how can revenue managers get creative insight? So I do know one of the questions that we always get from customers in Asia Pacific is, hey, what creative deals are being offered in Europe? I always think copying is the best form of flattery, but I also think just copying over point blank what is happening in Europe might not be the best strategy for APAC customers, because if travelers from Europe are going all the way to Asia, they don't want to experience a European deal, let's say in Asia, right? So they're really looking for local deals. So having said that, what would be your advice for hoteliers to maybe just take inspiration and then try and adapt that to your own local market, your own local flavor? And if you've seen any good examples of how a customer has actually done this.
Yeah, so that's a great question too. And I think in terms of like hoteliers' perspective, especially with the growth of Western travelers coming back to APAC, so I think they want to be able to accommodate those personas and be able to provide that. But like what you mentioned, instead of like copy and pasting, what they can do is focus on integrating. So if something that maybe is interesting or inspired within the Western countries, what they can do is integrate the local traditions, the cuisines, or even customs into their own personalized and hotel offerings. So It's good to be aware of what's happening out there, but the most important part is that, like what you mentioned, the guest has traveled from so far away, and we've seen also from that article what sets the tone for the new personas is that they want to be able to experience something local, and they want to be showcase the rich heritage that specific to their location. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think one example maybe I can think of this is that a simple one. Yeah, like in when I was in Amsterdam, there's a lot of like bike rentals or bike tours. So what I've also noticed that hotels and resorts are doing currently is that they do local bike tours, but
Mm.
to villages around and
Yeah.
close by. And within those bike tours itself, you can stop and have a rest within a local delicacy restaurant or on the sidewalk to try like street foods and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely love it. And I think one very good example I can think of this is to also think about your own brand, what it stands for, what heritage the brand has, and to see if you can mix that somehow very magically with the country or the city you're in, and how you can pull out some elements of tradition and create a deal. So one example of this call that I had with a customer in APAC was looking at a deal that a boutique hotel here in Europe sells, which is a package deal, and the hotel is themed like a rock and roll theme hotel. I think you know which one I'm talking about. Um, and what you could essentially do is just look at that deal, the way they structure it, and apply it to your own market. So if it could be a customer in, for example, India, and your heritage has some elements of royalness embedded to it, you could essentially create a deal that says, treat me like a Maharaja. And what that deal essentially can be is where you're uh, packaging multiple things into one package. You could add a 7 course dinner, a bottle of champagne, a massage, all of those things that is this again pampering you, giving you a sense of luxury. And again, if you refer back to that article, that is what people are looking for, right? They're looking for experiences. And I think Marge, you also mentioned this. Younger travelers are also nowadays a little bit more affluent, so they can spend a lot more, and that's what they want. They want to spend on cool, Instagrammable things that they can share with their friends and family. So that is again, like I said, and also Mark said, think about all of these aspects, right? It does take a little bit of work, but don't just copy paste it. Try and add your own little flavor to it. But Marge, I'd love to kind of ask you this question, and you have also seen this. A lot of younger people are starting to travel to Asia, call it the Instagram trend, the TikTok trend, whatever you want to call it. Um, how can hotels prepare themselves to cater to the demands and needs of the younger generation of travelers who are, don't want to call it this way, a bit impatient, a little bit more demanding, wanting more experience? And how can hotels really prepare themselves to, yeah, cater to these guests?
Yeah, so I think what how the younger generation now travel is that they do a lot of search, a lot of research, and the way they consume information is in bite-sized pieces, like quick, fast, and easy. That even I think now social media I saw in Google is that for the younger generation, social media has even become the search engine. So if they want to look for answers, that's the first place that they go to. So I think in that strategy wise is that going back to tailoring all these experiences, you also have to think of like, oh, okay, in terms of authentic and immersive experience. They want to show it in social media. So if you have these offerings and you have all these special items, then that's where the platform that you need to be in also, and that's where the younger generation will be able to see you. And I think there's a lot of some of these services, or if within the hotel itself, they are very open. They train how their team should help to take photos of their guests, and also help to record when they are experiencing some of the localized immersive experience, so that your guests can upload it into the social media, and it becomes like eventually things can get viral
Yeah.
out very easily, because people are constantly searching for sources of travel inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah. No, lovely. That's very creative. Like training your staff to take Instagrammable pictures. I would not have thought of that. That is such a cool thing to do. But there's also like a very interesting